Hello, everybody. Um, I'm about to do a book review of Dinesh D'Souza's Hillary's America, and he also has a movie out by that same name. Um, I'm going to have to stop saying that. I've been told about that. Dinesh mentions a book by Christopher Hitchens, who is an atheist, called No One Else to Lie to about the Clintons. He mentions Ham Jordan was critical of the Clintons. Ham Jordan was the chief of staff under Jimmy Carter, and he was once accused of taking cocaine at the chic Studio 54 disco place in New York City. Dinesh mentions that some claim that slavery was good for blacks. And see, what he does is he goes back into the history of the Democratic Party from slavery up to the present. Now, he mentioned later that some had claimed that the blacks were unable to do anything but menial work and that gave them full employment, which ironically enough, Jesse Jackson has said that we had full employment during slavery. I think some think that, or would claim and have claimed that introducing blacks to Christianity and American civilization was good for them. I even had an African I worked on a job with tell me I should thank him for slavery. I was taught in school that teaching blacks was called the white man's burden. Now, he spoke of Lincoln and said that the Republican Party was created to end slavery and that you had varying levels of Republicans. Some were straight up abolitionists who wanted the abolitionists of slavery. Some, like Lincoln, he said, were against expansionism because it would be politically difficult and against the Constitution to stop slavery. Now, the Constitution is available on audio on YouTube, and of course, it can be read as well. But Howard Zinn, a historian, had mentioned that the Constitution had a fugitive slave law clause, and it also had the 3/5 clause, which was for purposes of representation, the blacks would be counted as 3/5. That's called the 3/5 clause. Let's see here. Okay, he mentions Andrew Jackson, that some wanted Andrew Jackson off of the $20 bill, but he neglected to mention that many said he would still be on the back of the $20 bill, even if they did put, I think it was Harriet Tubman, an abolitionist and person who helped sneak slaves into freedom, on the $20 bill. And he compared Andrew Jackson to Al Capone in respects of Andrew Jackson was a roughneck that had gotten a duel and kept a bullet lodged into him, he said, until he died, and that Andrew Jackson had stole the Indians' land and resold it. At one point, he said for little or nothing. He said he believed that that was part of the popularity of Andrew Jackson. Now, they said that Al Capone had went to a baseball game and got all kinds of cheers, and that he was considered a people's hero, which oddly enough, Jesse James was also, and I believe Billy the Kid. And of course, we've had a number of flamboyant politicians who the public greatly admired, although some felt that they were corrupt. There was even a mayor from Boston who was said to have been elected from the jail cell. He mentioned the 14th Amendment, which gave equal protection of the law. The 15th Amendment gave black men suffrage. And of course, the 14th Amendment, I believe it was the 14th Amendment that also mandated that those that were born here would be citizens. And some believe that it's being applied wrongly to the immigrants that have a child brought here, or actually have a child born here and the parents are not citizens, but the child is deemed to be a citizen. Now, I did a review of Ann Coulter's Adios America, which you can get on my channel, and I hope you will subscribe. Just push the arrows. And in that one, Ann Coulter had said that they can keep the families together by going back home together, because some of them say, well, if a child is born here and is a citizen, if you send the parents home, you'll break up the family. Let's see. He mentions Margaret Sanger as a role model for Hillary Clinton. Now, I mentioned Margaret Sanger in my book review of Ann Coulter's Godless. And Margaret Sanger believed in eugenics. She had something called the Negro Project, which was to reduce the number of blacks. And let's see, what else is here? Was in favor of forced sterilization. Now, there is an interview with Margaret Sanger on YouTube. And I understand that Dr. King had some sort of interaction with her as well. But it's also been said that Adolf Hitler got some of his ideas from Margaret Sanger. Let's see. He mentioned that the Klan was formed in 1866 in Tennessee by former Confederate soldiers, and said that there was a Civil Rights Act in 1866. Now, the premise of his book is that the Democrats have always been bad, including and up to today. And then he addresses those that say, well, that was the old Democratic Party. I think a lot of people use common sense and an overview to make the determination about what is in their best interests. However, okay, that's about it. That's my review of the book. Let me